Good afternoon. What a joyous occasion. I told some of you if I have to remember not to put bobby pins in my hat so I can take my hat off to you, doctoral candidates, because this is just fantastic. We are so proud to honor the talented women and men who've already achieved so much and in other ways are just getting started. Please join me in congratulating the 2017 doctoral candidates of Teachers College. Graduates, let's hear it for those who helped you make it to this day, our incomparable faculty. Our dedicated staff who keep us on track, fed, safe, and well-maintained. And let's all show our appreciation to your families and partners for their love, encouragement, and support. This is a special thrill for me because when I was a doctoral candidate here, exactly 40 years ago, well, we did not, I just realized it's exactly 40 years ago, we did not have a hooding ceremony, and I've always thought that hooding was a particularly powerful image of joining the full-fledged ranks of academia. It's also a joy to see so many children here. When I started my TC degree, I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and when I finished 5 years later, I had another 1-year-old. So I know exactly what it is. I encourage you to bring them up on stage when you come get your degree. And we all share with you the joys of having both such an important accomplishment and a wonderful family. Graduates, you now join the ranks of our doctoral alumni who are leaders in education, psychology, and health. Like them, you now have great power. You have the power to reshape and energize the learning, caring, and research environments where you work. You have the power to produce groundbreaking research, pedagogies, and evidence-based policies and solutions. You have the power to build new bridges of understanding and productive engagement with diverse communities and cultures throughout the world. You have the power to improve productivity and performance at organizations. And you have the power to lead the revolution in educational technology to benefit learners of all ages. And like our alumni, you are dedicating your lives and careers to the pursuit of social justice, a TC tradition that literally goes back to our founder 130 years ago, Grace Hoadley Dodge. Grace Dodge was among the leaders of a growing movement in the late 19th century to provide educational and social opportunities for low-income and marginalized populations. Like her contemporary Jane Addams, who founded settlement houses where people from different socioeconomic backgrounds could share ideas and information, Grace was bound and determined to improve the lives of struggling families. It was her unique vision to establish a college that would prepare teachers to work with immigrant students and their families who had recently fled poverty, war, and prejudice and were still encountering xenophobia and economic peril. It was also Grace Dodge's brilliance to recognize the need for a new kind of educator, one with the skills, cultural understanding, and self-awareness to address immigrants' educational, health, and psychological needs. Armed with this deeper knowledge, this new type of educator could help immigrants in their communities achieve economic mobility and social equality. Thanks to Grace Dodge, Teachers College quickly became a force for increasing educational opportunity and a path to greater social justice. As more populations gained a foothold in society, thanks to institutions like TC, it became more essential for educators to teach the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. And the teaching of civics became commonplace in American classrooms through much of the 20th century. Helped by TC icons like Harold Rugg, founder of the National Council for the Social Studies, students were taught to think critically, to make knowledgeable judgments about political and social issues, and to analyze and weigh the statements of journalists, politicians, and policymakers. They were encouraged to participate in constructive and respectful debate, to consider opposing viewpoints, to vote, and even to consider running for office. They were taught about how the U.S., a nation of immigrants, has from time to time encountered and then marginalized waves of nativism. They were taught that basic rights are guaranteed for all, not just for those who triumph at the ballot box. Sadly, over the years, an ever narrower focus on testing math and reading skills has squeezed civics out of the curriculum almost entirely. But we shouldn't romanticize the past. For the 20th century, we condoned legal and then de facto segregation. It's clear that the civics of old did not confront racial and cultural stereotyping and biases that persist today. When we reflect on recent and current events, from violence against people of color, women, and LGBT individuals, to the prevalence of fake news and the divisiveness of our political climate, we must conclude that the time has come to revive civic education for today's multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic, digital society. And this time, the lessons of critical thinking, civil dialogue, and public engagement must go hand in hand with an unshakable commitment to confront prejudice and discrimination and to secure safety, opportunity, and equality for all. Oh, you can clap again. As the largest and best school of education in the world, some would say universe, but now we have to say in the multiverses, TC is up to the challenge. We have launched a major civic education initiative to redesign, reinvigorate, and reestablish civic education for the 21st century. Faculty from across departments have been coming together to plan a series of projects from pre-K to post-secondary, from professional development to digital literacy programs. Graduates, we're proud of the ways you've contributed to ideas for this initiative and to TC's role in advancing civic education more generally. And we know that you're well prepared to keep challenging, reimagining, and changing the ways our schools and education and institutions work to produce kind, thoughtful, and engaged citizens. We have faith in the future because we've already seen you promote civic education in at least 3 distinct ways. First, you promoted it at TC, beginning with your calls for more robust discussions on how to educate responsibly about race, gender, and class. For example, through our Racial Literacy Roundtable series, you participated in discussions on topics such as global collaboration through new classroom media, the value of generating youth activism, and the power of personal narrative. Through our Civic Participation Project, you help organize conversations, cultural events, safe spaces, and podcasts for the exchange of multiple perspectives on social justice and on youth well-being in our schools and communities. And many of you were instrumental in categorizing 6 dozen courses across the college through a race, ethnicity, and intercultural understanding curriculum map. This map is helping guide TC students as they think about race and diversity from multiple perspectives and disciplines. The second way you've promoted civic education is through your contributions to the teaching and research enterprise. All great institutions of higher learning do research. What sets Teachers College apart is also what sets you apart. You've been co-investigators and co-authors on groundbreaking research aimed directly at addressing the world's most challenging problems, particularly those that fall hardest on marginalized, vulnerable, and disadvantaged citizens and populations. You've contributed to faculty research on so many issues, problems, and phenomena. They include race-based traumatic stress, teaching methods for inclusive classrooms, higher education funding, probability problem-solving strategies, the use of science teaching to improve the health of urban teens, the effect of exercise on efforts to quit drinking and smoking, learning agility, emotional resilience, the effect of poverty on brain development, the adaptation of interpersonal therapy to help populations afflicted by war, refugee crises, pandemics, or natural disasters, and the creation of public policies that promote positive outcomes in education and health. Your dissertation titles include The Career Development of Latino Immigrant Youth, Racial Literacy in the College Composition Classroom, Learning to Govern, Student Police Cadets and the Making of Democratic Citizens in Kerala, India, Muslim American Female Immigrants' Interpretation of English Education Experiences, Religiosity and Modern Prejudice, Do the Right Thing, Exploring Ethical Decision-Making in Financial Institutions. The third way you've promoted civic education is through your own individual work. Take Cristina Salazar Gallardo, who is receiving her doctorate in mathematics, science, and technology. Cristina came to TC as a Fulbright scholar in 2009 to study for a master's in communications. She was the first in her extended family to leave their small town in Mexico. Days before Cristina received her master's in 2011, the U.S. Senate reintroduced the DREAM Act, a bill that proposed an easier path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants or dreamers. Around the same time, Cristina became aware of videos posted online by dreamers coming out as undocumented and sharing their stories. She admired their bravery, but wanted to know why they were willing to put themselves at such personal risk for deportation or worse. To find out, she scrapped her plans to return to Mexico and applied for her doctorate instead. Cristina's work focuses on the concept of informal mentorship among dreamers. She conducted a long-term study of how undocumented college students navigate their experiences and build support and resilience via social media and online tools. Being undocumented is incredibly isolating, she said. Community reduces shame. Cristina will return to Mexico to conduct research, develop curriculum, and provide leadership training for principals in low-income communities. Her goal is to put in place cross-national policies to help educators support immigrants, deportees, and anyone with transnational identity. I need to show the world what I learned and remove the stigma, she said. Thank you, Cristina, for your vision, determination, and courage. We also expect great things from Deidre Flowers, who is receiving her doctorate in history and education. Deidre is the recipient of our Lawrence A. Kremen History of Education Scholarship, named for the Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and former president of Teachers College, who argued that every family, every place of religious worship, every employer, every cultural institution, every medium, and every organization plays a role in improving people's minds and creating equal opportunities for learning. As a graduate of one of the nation's more than 100 historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, Deidre learned how important these institutions have been in advancing the careers and lives of Black Americans. She became interested in shedding new light on their under-researched and undervalued history, including their role in civic activism and change. She chose to study this history at Teachers College, knowing that TC had prepared generations of segregation-era black teachers, counselors, and administrators from southern states that would not accept African Americans at institutions of higher education. Deidre was especially interested in the important role women have played at HBCUs and in the civil rights movement. She wrote her dissertation on Bennett College for Women in Greensboro, North Carolina, where students fought segregation in movie theaters during the 1930s and helped to lead the famed lunch counter sit-ins in 1960. Deidre will continue to explore and teach the rich tradition of Black and female civic engagement as a higher education administrator and scholar. She's not taking any breaks. Tomorrow, she begins teaching a TC summer course on the history of education in the United States. Congratulations and thank you, Deidre. Graduates, we eagerly await breakthroughs from the important work all of you are doing in pursuit of social justice and advancing civic education. All of you will have a hand in changing the trajectories of the lives you touch for the better, and they will change you. Why? Because the diplomas you leave with today stand for more than a resolve to confront what is wrong in our society and to make it right. They're also a summons for you to continue to deepen your knowledge and your understanding of the students you teach, their culture, their experiences, their realities, so you can work with them to achieve brighter futures. The challenges confronting our society are daunting, but my faculty colleagues and I are optimistic about the future because we have taken the full measure of your talents, integrity, and fitness to become leading thinkers, educators, advocates, professionals, and scholars. We are confident that individually and collectively, you will make the greatest possible difference in the world, and that you will both be and create outstanding citizens in the course of your work. You will reinvigorate the civic purpose of education, psychology, and health. This is your time. Keep bright the chain of social justice that started for all of us at TC's founding. Congratulations.